Is it's not even close who's winning this competition. Do you agree with Flav? Is it not close between Darnold and Lance? Where do you have the quarterbacks after preseason game number 2, JD?
Yeah, good to be with you. I thought tonight Darnold solidified himself as far as the number 2 quarterback job. He came out, he was solid, he was throwing darts. Yes, he took a couple of sacks. I thought Trey Lance, though, showed a lot of life after a slow start, except for that first throw to the sideline that Baller was talking about there. I thought the body language wasn't great early. But Trey seems to be a slow starter. I know that was a question in the locker room post game. A lot of his practices, Larry, I know you've been out there just about every day, if not every day. And I was up there every day up until this week. And he tends to start slow at practice and then get better as practices go on. I thought going into the Raider game, Darnold had a slight edge on the practice field through training camp to that point. I thought Darnold extended his lead. And I don't think Darnold did anything if he already had the lead coming in. And I think he did have the lead coming in. I don't think Darnold did anything to change that with the way that he played tonight. I thought he basically checked every box as far as, just having it be an extension of being solid. As far as Trey goes, he showed signs of life. I mean, he showed, in my mind, that some of the conversation this week nationally, I thought it went a little too far. Like we can debate 2 versus 3, and we've all done it. I think Darnold's ahead. Maybe some of you disagree. That's fine. We can have a conversation about it. I thought it got a little crazy this week with, it going to a different level with Trey. Forget about, well, he's the 3. To me, it went too far down the road of, well, he might not be an NFL quarterback at all, and he might not be able to be on a roster. It's like, no, he just needs some more time to develop, and the 49ers may not be able to afford him that time, or he may have to be the number 3 on their roster and have a couple of guys either be hurt and or ineffective to get an opportunity. But the last thing that I thought about Trey Lance, given what I've seen over the last month, and even after he struggled in the Raider game, was that this guy's career is borderline over or anything like that. To me, that was a complete joke. Now, but again, that being said, I do have Darnold ahead, and I do think Darnold, I won't say extended I think he extended the lead, because the way I viewed it going in, all he had to do was, be solid and good. And even if Trey was great, which I think he was great the last 2 drives, I still think there's almost too much. Like, Darnold would have had to have been bad, and Trey would have had to have been great for it to get back to a point where I feel like it would be even as far as the race for the backup job goes. But I remain intrigued by Trey. I know I've said this, and I'll kind of wrap the initial point on this. I think the Niners should keep Trey Lance as the 3. If that's the way that they view this thing, and don't get caught in the you have to trade him. Or Brandon Allen. Like, Brandon Allen, to me, stinks. I think Brandon Allen stinks. Like, if you get to the 3rd quarterback spot, you're not winning the Super Bowl with Brandon Allen. So at that point, you might as well go to Trey Lance and switch into developmental mode. And maybe by the time he has to play, he is farther along to where if he's getting more run with the ones and all of that, at that point in time, by necessity, he can play well enough to where you can win games. So long-winded way.
That's where I'm at too. That's where I'm at too. I mean, if they want to move off Trey for Brandon Allen, that's a financial decision only. That's not an evaluation, because if you're really evaluating, Trey's the 3rd best quarterback here, right? I mean, would we all agree there? I mean, is there anybody that actually believes that Trey's not the 3rd best quarterback they have? I mean, he might be the 2nd best. But I'm just saying, he's 2 or he's 3, but he ain't 4. Do we all agree on that?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Kev?
Yeah.
You're not saying nothing.
Yeah.
Kev thinks
I'm pretending now. Yeah, no, I agree. Okay.
I agree. And here's the question now is this. What do you guys think that this performance tonight from Lance does to the league's opinion of Trey. He went 12 of 18, 173 yards, a touchdown, an interception. He was not sacked. He looked confident. He moved comfortably. He throws those deep cut routes, just on a line. I mean, there's no question he throws some of those, the 18 to 22 yard ins, outs, skinny post. I mean, if he it's there. I mean, he can stick it in there pretty good with some good velocity. What do you think his performance tonight does to the rest of the league's opinion of him? Like, what will they be? I guess the question is this: what will they be saying nationally on ESPN about the 49er quarterbacks going into next week? And what do you think they're saying on other teams that were maybe considering trading for Trey? And what do you think the 49ers get out of this? Do you think they see this and go, you know what? The guy completed 67%. The turnover, as Baller said, was, an inch or two higher, and he'll learn to throw that ball with a little loft. He didn't take any sacks. He minimized negative plays. I thought he looked pretty good. How do you think the Niners react? How does the media react? How do the other teams in the league react to Lance and his performance tonight? Go ahead, whoever wants to jump in.
Well, I don't think the media is going to switch up too much. They've been pretty critical of Trey Lance as of late. I don't think this performance is going to dissuade them from that. But from an NFL perspective, I think GMs and QB needy teams they're monitoring Trey Lance's performance closely, and Trey's performance today was a big positive, and for those that think the preseason has no value, no merit in terms of maybe increasing a player's trade value, I would disagree with that, because I remember a guy like Matt Schaub, who was sitting behind Mike Vick. He had a few good preseason games. Next thing you know, the Texans are offering a third-round pick. So a performance like today absolutely boosts Trey Lance's value for the 49ers and as an entity across the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think with every rep he takes, he looks better, and he has so few reps that every rep really matters when you look at him like as an overall. In terms of what ESPN is going to say, I don't really care. It seems like they always make sweeping judgments that are just way over the top with some of these guys.
Will they be sweeping in the other direction now? Will they now be like, hey, look, this guy's coming on? I mean,
maybe, but it seems like they don't really know the full story, so they just make overgeneralizations like, oh, Trey Lance was bad the day he was born. And it's like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah,
I think bad. there's just things that, like, it's going to change over time. Their opinions are going to change. So I don't really care what they have to say. As for the 49ers, I think you come out of this with a win. I mean, if you're going to keep them on your roster, I mean, you feel better about them today than you did yesterday.
Great night for the Niners. Great night for Trey Lance. I mean, he showed, I think, without a doubt that he does have a future in this league. It's just a matter of when and how he gets that opportunity, and whether or not it winds up being here in the Bay Area. Now that remains to be seen, but I think there's teams around the league, that maybe we're thinking, hey, we like this kid. He needs reps. We'd love to get him in our building or in our offense, but we're not giving up more than a 5 or a 6, in terms of draft capital to get him. And I don't think the Niners would be willing to do anything close to that. Now, does this mean somebody's willing to offer him a 3 for him now to tempt them to maybe make that trade? Probably not, honestly, because it just, it still is one game. And I think it's also, a lot of this is about negotiating and bargaining. Like, I think other teams around the league want to basically call the 49ers on the, hey, you're not getting much for him. Like, he hasn't done much. You've got 2 quarterbacks you have in front of him. Like, we'd love to take him, but it's going to be for a 6 or it's going to be for a 5. If you want to do that just to get off of him or get off the money, Larry, like you mentioned, then, we'll help facilitate that. But I think the Niners now can look at it more confidently tonight and say, hey, if you really want him, it's going to have to be a 3, or it's going to have to be something, of value to us, because he showed he has some value in the league. I still, again, I wouldn't be thinking that way if I'm the 49ers. I think we've seen it too many times where the plan goes awry, either via injury or whether a player that they've evaluated at a certain level winds up not being that level of player over time. All of those things are on the table. I think it's in the 49ers' best interest to continue to keep as many positive options as possible. I just would not, as much as I would not have Trey Lance be the starter, and to this point, I don't think he's even earned the backup role. I just would not want to see Trey Lance on another roster this season and see the 49ers end up at a point where maybe, even though it doesn't look like it right now, he could have played and still developed into a quality NFL quarterback, but now he's doing it on the Falcons or the Bucks or one of these other teams, Minnesota, that's been rumored to be interested in him. Pick your team. To me, there's value in keeping him around for one more year and seeing how this thing shakes out.